Lila slammed the door behind her, the echo reverberating through the empty hallway of her mother's pristine suburban home in suburban Chicago. Her heart pounded like a drum in a war zone, the taste of Liliana's lips still lingering on her own from their stolen moment in the park just hours ago. But now, facing the mirror in her childhood bedroom, she felt the familiar fracture inside her, the girl who had to hide, to pretend, because in this house, love like hers was a sin unspoken. Growing up shuttled between two homes after her parents' bitter divorce when she was 10, Lila had mastered the art of duality. At her mother's place, she was the dutiful daughter, straight-A student, volunteering at church events, her wardrobe full of modest dresses that screamed conformity. Her mother, Evelyn, a devout Catholic school teacher, had drilled into her the importance of fitting in, of avoiding the deviant influences that plagued modern society. Evelyn's world was black and white. Good girls married good men, had families, and upheld traditions. Any deviation was a direct affront to God and family honor. Lila remembered the first time she felt different, around 13, when she'd stare a little too long at her best friend Sarah during sleepovers, her stomach twisting in ways she couldn't name. But she buried it deep, especially here, where her mother's watchful eyes seemed to pierce through walls. "You're my perfect girl," Evelyn would say, hugging her tightly after Mass, and Lila would smile, nodding, while inside she screamed for air. Switching to her father's apartment in the city every other week was like stepping into another dimension. Daniel, her dad, a liberal graphic designer remarried to a free-spirited artist named Mia, encouraged self-expression. There, Lila could wear ripped jeans, dye her hair streaks of blue, which she'd wash out before returning to Mom's, and talk about dreams without judgment. But even there she held back. Daniel was supportive in theory, but he'd joke about her bringing home a boyfriend, assuming her quiet nature meant shyness around boys. The pressure to be normal lingered, subtle but insistent. Lila often lay awake in his guest room, staring at the ceiling, wondering if revealing her truth would shatter the fragile peace of their co-parenting arrangement. Would he defend her against Evelyn's wrath? Or would he crumble under the guilt of their failed marriage? These thoughts haunted her, making every transition between homes a psychological battlefield. It was during her sophomore year at the University of Illinois that Lila met Liliana. In a crowded lecture hall for Psychology 101, Liliana sat next to her, her sharp wit cutting through the professor's drone with whispered commentary that made Lila laugh for the first time in weeks. Liliana was everything Lila wasn't allowed to be. Openly queer, with a rainbow pin on her backpack, her stories filled with pride parades and unapologetic living. She was from a progressive family in New York, having moved to Chicago for school, and her confidence was magnetic. "Life's too short to hide," Liliana had said one afternoon over coffee, her dark eyes locking onto Lila's with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. Lila felt seen, truly seen for the first time. But fear gripped her. What if this was just a phase? What if pursuing it meant losing everything? Their friendship deepened quickly, late-night study sessions turning into confessions under the stars. Lila shared fragments of her split life, how she felt like two people trapped in one body. Liliana listened, her hand brushing Lila's in reassurance, sparking something electric. "You deserve to be whole," Liliana whispered one night, and Lila's walls cracked. The first kiss happened impulsively, after a movie night in Liliana's dorm. It was soft, tentative, then urgent, a release of years of suppression. But as joy flooded her, so did terror. What if her mother found out? Evelyn had once ranted about a cousin who chose that lifestyle, and was disowned. Lila pulled away, tears streaming. "I can't do this." "Not yet." Liliana's face fell, but she nodded, understanding the storm inside Lila. From then on, their relationship became a secret dance, stolen glances in class, hidden dates in obscure cafes. Lila's inner monologue was a constant whirlwind. "This feels right, but is it worth the risk?" Every time she lied to her parents about where she was, guilt gnawed at her. At her mother's, she'd pray for forgiveness, questioning if her feelings were a test from God. At her father's, she'd almost confess, but the words stuck in her throat. Liliana pushed gently for more openness. "We can't live in shadows forever," she'd say, her voice laced with frustration. Lila knew she was right, but the fear of rejection paralyzed her. One weekend at her father's, Mia noticed Lila's distraction. "You seem happier lately. Is there someone special?" Mia asked with a knowing smile. Lila froze, her mind racing. Admit it? Deny it? She chose deflection, just focusing on school. But inside she berated herself. Why can't I just say it? Am I ashamed of her? Of myself? The duality was tearing her apart, each home pulling her in opposite directions. As weeks turned to months, the strain showed. Liliana grew impatient with the secrecy. I love you, Lila, but this is killing me too. Those words hit like a punch. Lila realized she was hurting the one person who accepted her fully. But change meant confrontation, and confrontation meant potential loss. Little did she know the storm was about to break. Returning to her mother's house one evening, Lila's phone buzzed with a text from Liliana. Miss you already. Can't wait for our weekend getaway. Smiling, she didn't notice Evelyn glancing over her shoulder. The next morning, Evelyn confronted her in the kitchen, face pale. Who is this Liliana? And why is she talking to you like that? Lila's blood ran cold. The lie came automatically. Just a friend. But Evelyn's eyes narrowed. Don't lie to me. I saw the hearts in those messages. Panic surged. This was it, the moment she dreaded. Mom, it's not what you think. But Evelyn's voice rose. It is exactly what I think. This is unnatural, Lila. We've raised you better. The argument escalated, words like disgrace and hell thrown like weapons. Lila's inner voice screamed. Stand up for yourself. But years of conditioning made her waver. I don't know what I am, she whispered, tears falling. Evelyn stormed out, leaving Lila alone with her shattering world. That night, Lila called Liliana, sobbing. She knows. Everything's ruined. Liliana's response was firm. Then fight for us. But Lila wasn't sure she had the strength. The fracture inside her deepened, two personalities clashing in a war for her soul. The fallout from Evelyn's discovery rippled through Lila's life like a stone-shattering glass. She spent the next days in a haze, avoiding her mother's accusatory stares and retreating to her room where she could curl up and replay the confrontation in her mind. Why didn't I defend myself more? Am I really ready to lose her over this? Evelyn, for her part, oscillated between icy silence and fervent prayers, leaving pamphlets about conversion therapy on Lila's bed. Each one felt like a dagger, twisting the knife of rejection deeper. This is for your own good, Evelyn said one evening, her voice trembling with what Lila recognized as fear masked as righteousness. Society won't accept this. You'll be alone. Those words echoed Lila's deepest fears, the ones that kept her up at night, questioning if her love for Liliana was worth the isolation. Transitioning to her father's house that weekend felt like escaping a prison, but even there, the tension followed. Daniel noticed her withdrawn demeanor immediately. Rough week with your mom? He asked over dinner, Mia nodding sympathetically beside him. Lila hesitated, her heart pounding. This was her chance. Her dad was more open-minded. But what if he reacted like Evelyn? What if he blamed himself for the divorce, seeing her issues as a symptom? Yeah, just the usual, she muttered, pushing food around her plate. Inside she seethed, coward. You're letting fear win again. Liliana sensed the shift too. They met in a quiet bookstore cafe, away from prying eyes. Liliana's touch under the table was comforting, but her eyes held concern. You can't keep bottling this up, Lila. Talk to your dad. He might surprise you. Lila pulled her hand away, frustration bubbling. And if he doesn't? Then I lose both parents. Liliana sighed, her own pain evident. But you're losing yourself in the process. The words stung because they were true. Lila's dual life was eroding her from the inside, each switch between homes amplifying the dissonance. At Evelyn's, she was the repressed daughter. At Daniel's, the almost free spirit. But neither allowed the full truth. As the weeks dragged on, the pressure mounted. Evelyn insisted on family counseling with their church pastor, a stern man who quoted Bible verses about abominations. Sitting in his office, Lila felt like a specimen under a microscope. These feelings are temptations, child. You can overcome them with faith. His words clashed with her inner convictions. But this love feels pure, not sinful. Why can't they see that? She nodded outwardly, but inside rebellion stirred. Liliana, hearing about it later, was furious. They're trying to brainwash you. This isn't love. It's control. Their argument that night was their first real fight. You don't understand, Lila shot back. They're my family. Liliana's eyes flashed. And what am I? A secret hobby. The hurt in her voice cut deep. Lila realized she was betraying Liliana by not standing firm. But the fear of total abandonment was paralyzing. In a moment of desperation, Lila confided in her college roommate, Jenna, who she'd thought was an ally. I'm seeing someone. A girl, she admitted over late-night pizza. Jenna's reaction was supportive at first, but days later, rumors spread through their dorm. Whispers in hallways, stares in class. Lila felt exposed, vulnerable. Then came the betrayal. Jenna had told a mutual friend, who told others, and soon it reached Evelyn's ears through a church acquaintance whose kid attended the same school. Evelyn's rage was volcanic. Now the whole community knows? You've shamed us all. She grounded Lila, forbidding her from seeing Liliana. Lila's mind raced. How could Jenna do this? Trust shattered, she confronted her roommate. I thought you were my friend. Jenna shrugged. I was just worried about you. But Lila saw the judgment in her eyes, the same societal disdain that poisoned everything. The isolation deepened. At her father's she finally cracked. One evening as Mia played soft jazz in the living room, Lila blurted it out. Dad, I'm gay. I'm in love with a woman named Liliana. The room fell silent. Daniel's face paled, then softened. Honey, I had no idea. He hugged her, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry if I made you feel you couldn't tell me. Mia joined in, offering unwavering support. For the first time, Lila felt a glimmer of acceptance. But the victory was bittersweet. Evelyn would never forgive this. Daniel promised to talk to her. But Lila knew it would only widen the rift. She'll see it as you taking sides, Lila thought, her relief tainted by dread. Liliana was thrilled when Lila told her. See? One parent down. They celebrated with a quiet picnic, but the joy was short-lived. Evelyn, learning of Daniel's stance, escalated. She called Lila constantly, pleading, then threatening to cut her off financially. Choose, your family or this perversion. The ultimatum hung like a guillotine. Lila's inner turmoil peaked. Am I willing to pay this price? Liliana urged her to stand strong, but the constant battles wore them down. One night, after a heated call with Evelyn, Lila snapped at Liliana. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is too hard. Liliana's face crumpled. So you're giving up on us? The question lingered unanswered as Lila stormed out. Alone in her car, she wept, realizing the cost of her indecision. The two homes had forged two selves, but now they collided, forcing a choice. Society's whispers, family's demands, everything pressed in. Lila knew she had to decide, but the path ahead was fraught with loss. With Daniel's support as an anchor, Lila tried to rebuild. But Evelyn's rejection festered like an open wound. She blocked Lila's number temporarily, then unblocked to send guilt-laden messages. Think about your future. No one will hire you if they know. Each one chipped away at Lila's resolve, making her question if coming out was a mistake. At school, the rumors had died down, but the damage lingered. Friends distanced themselves, invitations dried up. Lila felt like an outcast, her inner voice mocking, see? This is what happens when you don't conform. Liliana became her lifeline. Their dates more frequent now that Daniel knew. But even that brought new tensions. Liliana wanted to go public, post pictures on social media, attend pride events. We have nothing to hide, she'd argue. Lila balked. Not everyone is as accepting as your family. Liliana's parents, both therapists in New York, had celebrated her coming out at 16. They Skyped with Lila, offering advice, but it only highlighted the chasm in her own life. Why can't my mom be like that? Lila thought bitterly. The disparity fueled resentment. One afternoon during a walk in Grant Park, Liliana proposed they move in together after graduation. We can start fresh, away from the drama. The idea thrilled Lila, but terror followed. What about tuition? Evelyn still controlled part of her college fund. I can't just cut ties, Lila said. Liliana's frustration boiled over. But she's cutting you out. When will you choose yourself? The fight escalated, words hurled like grenades. You're pushing too hard, Lila accused. And you're not pushing at all, Liliana retorted. They parted angry, Lila driving back to Daniel's with tears blurring her vision. Inside, she confessed the strain to Mia. I love her, but this is tearing us apart. Mia listened, then shared her own story of coming out as bisexual in her 20s, facing similar backlash. It gets better, but only if you fight for it. Her words planted a seed of determination. Meanwhile, Evelyn plotted. She contacted Daniel demanding a family meeting. We need to unite against this. Daniel refused. She's our daughter, Ev. Love her as she is. The call ended in shouts, reopening old divorce wounds. Lila overheard, guilt flooding her. I'm the reason they're fighting again. The meeting happened anyway at a neutral coffee shop. Evelyn arrived with the pastor, ambushing them. This is an intervention, she declared. Lila's heart sank. The pastor preached about redemption. Evelyn begged through tears. Daniel defended fiercely. Let her live her life. Lila sat silent at first, then exploded. Stop treating me like a problem. I love Liliana, and that's not changing. The words hung heavy. Evelyn gasped, standing. Then you're no daughter of mine. She left, the door slamming like a finality. Lila crumbled, Daniel holding her. She'll come around, he whispered. But Lila doubted it. The disownment hit hard. Evelyn froze the accounts, forcing Lila to take a part-time job at a bookstore. The financial strain added to the emotional toll. Liliana helped where she could, but resentment built. If you'd stood up sooner, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Lila snapped back. Easy for you to say. Their relationship frayed, small arguments magnifying. One night after a shift, Lila found Liliana packing. I need space. This secrecy, the drama. It's too much. Panic seized Lila. Don't leave me. Liliana paused, tears falling. I'm not leaving you. But we need to figure this out. She stayed with a friend, leaving Lila alone with her thoughts. Is this the price of love? Society's judgment manifested in subtle ways. A professor's raised eyebrow, a co-worker's snide comment. Lila joined a campus LGBTQ group, finding solace in shared stories. You're not alone, a member said. It helped, but the void from Evelyn ached. In a bold move, Lila wrote her mother a letter pouring out her heart. I didn't choose this, but I choose to be happy. No response came. Weeks later, at a pride rally Liliana dragged her to, Lila felt empowered, chanting with the crowd. But spotting a family like Evelyn's protesting nearby shattered her. Freaks! They yelled. Lila froze, old fears resurfacing. Liliana pulled her away. Ignore them. But the damage was done. That night, they reconciled, but Lila's doubts lingered. What if they're right? What if I'm wrong? Liliana held her. Love isn't wrong. As graduation neared, decisions loomed. Lila considered moving to New York with Liliana, but ties to Chicago, and hope for Evelyn, held her back. The internal conflict raged. Freedom or family? The choice would define her, but at what cost? Graduation day arrived under a cloudless Chicago sky, but for Lila it was stormy inside. She scanned the crowd for Evelyn, hoping against hope, but only Daniel and Mia waved from the seats. The absence stung like salt in a wound. She really meant it, Lila thought, diploma in hand feeling hollow. Liliana, graduating too, hugged her tightly. We did it. But the celebration was muted by the unspoken rift. Post-ceremony, Daniel hosted a small party at his apartment. Friends toasted, but Lila's mind wandered to what could have been, a united family. Liliana noticed, pulling her aside. Talk to me. Lila confessed her lingering guilt. I feel like I broke everything. Liliana's response was gentle but firm. No, society's broken. Not you. It helped, but the doubt persisted. In the following months, Lila and Liliana moved into a tiny apartment downtown. A step toward independence. The space was theirs, free from parental oversight, but shadows lingered. Bills piled up without Evelyn's support, forcing Lila to work full-time at the bookstore while job hunting. This is adulthood, she told herself, but resentment toward her mother grew. Why punish me for being me? Liliana landed a counseling internship, her optimism clashing with Lila's pessimism. Arguments flared over trivial things, dishes, schedules, but rooted in deeper issues. You're still hiding, Liliana accused one evening. Even here, you won't put up our photo. Lila glanced at the empty frame. What if someone from Mom's church sees? The fear was irrational but real. Liliana stormed out, returning hours later with apologies. I just want us to be free. Lila nodded, but inside, am I capable of that? A turning point came when Jenna, the betraying roommate, reached out. I'm sorry. I was wrong. They met for coffee, Jenna explaining her own internalized biases. I grew up like your mom. The conversation was healing, but Lila's trust was scarred. Forgiveness doesn't erase the hurt, she thought. Emboldened, Lila volunteered at the LGBTQ Center, counseling youth facing similar struggles. Hearing their stories mirrored her own, igniting a fire. You have to choose your happiness, she advised one teen, realizing she needed to heed her own words. But Evelyn's silence was deafening. Daniel urged reconciliation. Give her time. Lila tried sending birthday cards, holiday texts, no reply. The rejection fueled a spiral. Maybe I am flawed. Liliana noticed the depression creeping in. Let's see a therapist. Sessions unearthed buried traumas, the divorce's impact, the constant code switching. You've been performing your whole life, the therapist said. Lila wept, acknowledging the toll. Progress was slow, but cracks of light appeared. One day, a call from an unknown number. Evelyn. I want to talk. Lila's heart raced. They met at a park-neutral ground. Evelyn looked older, weary. I've been praying. The pastor says. Lila interrupted. This isn't about prayer. It's about accepting me. Evelyn teared up. I don't understand it. The conversation was raw, accusations flying. You chose this over family. Evelyn cried. No, you forced the choice. Lila retorted. They parted unresolved, but the door cracked open. Liliana was wary. Don't let her manipulate you. But Lila hoped. Weeks later, Evelyn attended a PFLAG meeting, surprising everyone. She called Lila after. I'm trying. It was a start, but trust was fragile. Meanwhile, societal pressures mounted. At work, a customer complained about Lila's lifestyle. After seeing her with Liliana, the boss sympathetic, but the incident shook her. Is this worth it? She questioned. Liliana's response. Always. Their bond strengthened through trials, but a major test loomed. Liliana got a job offer in Seattle. Come with me. Fresh start. Lila hesitated. Chicago held her roots, her tentative reconciliation with Evelyn. What about my family? The decision tore her. Staying meant potential mending but risking stagnation. Going meant freedom but abandonment. Inner debates raged. Am I selfish for wanting both? In a moment of clarity, Lila confronted Evelyn. If I move, will you disown me again? Evelyn paused. I don't want to lose you. It wasn't full acceptance but progress. Daniel encouraged the move. Live your life. The choice crystallized. Forward. But on the eve of departure, betrayal struck. Evelyn, in a panic, contacted Liliana behind Lila's back. You're tearing our family apart. Liliana, hurt, told Lila. She's still fighting us. The revelation shattered the fragile peace. Lila confronted Evelyn. Why can't you let me go? Evelyn sobbed. Because I'm scared. The honesty disarmed Lila. Me too. They hugged for the first time in months, a tentative bridge. But the damage lingered, trust eroded once more. As packing continued, Lila reflected on the costs. Lost friendships, financial struggles, emotional scars. Was love worth it? The answer, hard one, was yes. But the journey had changed her irrevocably. The move to Seattle was a whirlwind. Boxes piled in their new apartment overlooking Puget Sound. Lila felt unmoored, the distance from Chicago amplifying her isolation. Did I make the right choice? She wondered daily, staring at the rainy skyline. Liliana thrived in her job, but Lila struggled to find work, her resume gaps from the turmoil raising questions. Interviews were nerve-wracking, her confidence eroded by past rejections. Tell me about yourself, they'd ask, and she'd falter, the duality still haunting her narrative. Evelyn called weekly now, conversations awkward but improving. How's the weather? Became code for, I miss you. Lila appreciated the effort, but resentment simmered. Why did it take me leaving to make you try? Daniel visited first, bringing Mia and stories from home. Your mom's coming around. Slowly. The visit bolstered Lila, but highlighted the fractures. At a local queer community event, Lila met others with similar stories, disowned, then reconciled or not. It normalized her pain, but also underscored the societal toll. Why do we have to fight so hard just to exist? She thought. Liliana and she grew closer in the new city, free from old shadows. Dates were open, hands held in public without fear. But old habits died hard. Lila still glanced over her shoulder. One evening over wine Liliana proposed. "Marry me. Let's make this official." Joy surged but doubt followed. "What about my family?" Liliana's eyes softened. "They'll come or they won't. But this is our life." Lila said yes, the ring a symbol of commitment amid chaos. Planning the wedding brought new conflicts. Evelyn wanted to attend but balked at the non-traditional aspects. "Can't it be in a church?" Lila refused. "This is who we are." The negotiation was tense, Evelyn's concessions hard-won. Daniel walked her down the aisle, Evelyn in the front row, tears mixing pride and sorrow. The ceremony was beautiful, vows raw with emotion. "Through betrayals and battles I choose you," Lila said. But post-wedding reality hit. Evelyn's friends shunned her for attending, labeling her a traitor to values. The backlash isolated Evelyn, who lashed out at Lila. "See what you've done?" Lila's response. "No, see what society's done." The argument reopened wounds, but also fostered understanding. Evelyn began therapy, confronting her biases. "I was wrong," she admitted months later. The apology was cathartic, but scars remained. Lila's career took off with a job at a nonprofit advocating for LGBTQ rights. Her experiences fueled her passion, turning pain into purpose. But success came with reminders, a discriminatory policy debate, a hate crime in the news, stoking her inner fire. Liliana and she faced their own mending. "We almost lost each other," Liliana reflected one anniversary. Lila nodded. "But we fought through." The journey had cost dearly. Lost innocence, strained bonds, emotional exhaustion. Yet, in the quiet moments, Lila felt whole for the first time. No more dual personalities, just her authentic self. Evelyn visited Seattle, the reunion tentative but genuine. "I'm proud of you," she said, words Lila had longed for. But the path to forgiveness was ongoing. As life stabilized, Lila pondered the broader implications. Society's progress was uneven, acceptance hard-fought. Her story was one of many, a testament to resilience amid adversity. In the end, the choices, right or wrong, shaped her. But one question lingered, sparking endless debate. Was hiding her truth to preserve family peace ever justifiable? Or does authenticity always demand the ultimate sacrifice? Word count: 976.